On May 11, 1983, the pitch at the Naya Ullevi Stadium in Gothenburg was rapidly disappearing. Heavy, wet mud clung to the players' boots, turning every sprint into a slog under the harsh stadium floodlights. This was the final of the European Cup Winners' Cup. The score was locked at 1-1, and the match had pushed past the 90-minute mark into a grueling period of extra time. On one side stood Real Madrid, the aristocrats of the sport, with 6 European Cups to their name. On the other stood Aberdeen, a provincial club from the north of Scotland, whose presence here seemed like an impossible glitch in the natural order of football. In today's world, where a handful of mega clubs monopolize almost every major trophy, a matchup like this feels like a fantasy. The financial gap between a team like Aberdeen and the elite of Madrid is now viewed as an insurmountable wall. But Aberdeen's arrival in this final wasn't an accident. It was the result of a specific Scottish footballing culture that, for nearly 20 years, had been finding ways to consistently challenge the biggest powers on the continent. The foundation of this era was laid in 1967. These Celtic players, all born within 30 miles of their home stadium, traveled to Lisbon and defeated Inter Milan to claim the European Cup. This victory broke the Mediterranean monopoly on the trophy. Celtic became the first club from the British Isles to be crowned champions of Europe, proving that the continent's traditional powers could be beaten by a localized, disciplined unit. 5 years later, in 1972, the momentum shifted to the other side of Glasgow. Celtic's rivals, Rangers, fought their way to the European Cup Winners' Cup final and won. Having 2 different clubs from the same city win major European trophies in a 5-year span was a rarity. It verified that Scotland's success wasn't a one-off miracle, but a legitimate trend. By the early 1970s, Scotland had developed a reputation for giant slaying. Their clubs were consistently outmaneuvering teams with far more resources by relying on high-intensity physical play and rigid tactical preparation. By the 1980s, that competitive edge had spread beyond Glasgow. Aberdeen emerged as a new force, ready to prove that the nation's European pedigree wasn't limited to its 2 biggest cities. This bracket shows the start of their 1982 campaign. Aberdeen didn't just participate, they dominated, beginning with a massive 11-1 aggregate victory over the Swiss side, Sion. The gauntlet grew tighter in the quarterfinals when they met Bayern Munich. After holding the Germans to a scoreless draw away, Aberdeen secured a 3-2 victory in the return leg to knock out one of the most feared teams in the world. This path to the final required more than just skill. It took a level of resilience forged through difficult away trips to Albania and high-pressure nights against the German elite. Aberdeen didn't arrive in Gothenburg as lucky underdogs. They were a battle-tested squad that had spent the entire season proving they belonged on the same pitch as any team in Europe. Back in the mud of Gothenburg, Aberdeen struck first. Eric Black found the net early in the game, giving the Scottish side a lead that stunned the Madrid supporters. But the deteriorating pitch soon worked against them. Defender Alex McLeish attempted a back pass that died in the mud, forcing goalkeeper Jim Leighton to commit a foul in the box as he tried to recover the ball. Madrid's captain, Juanito, scored the penalty in the 15th minute. For nearly 100 minutes that followed, the 2 teams traded blows in a physical stalemate that pushed the match deep into extra time. The deadlock finally broke in the 112th minute, when John Hewitt headed home the winner. The final whistle confirmed a 2-1 victory, and Aberdeen's players finally lifted the silver trophy they had fought through the mud to earn. This victory was the defining early achievement for manager Alex Ferguson. His obsessive strategic preparation and demand for fitness allowed a small-town team to outlast the most successful club in history. With that win, Aberdeen became the 3rd distinct Scottish club to win a major UEFA competition, a feat that very few nations of Scotland's size have ever replicated. Aberdeen immediately built on that success by winning the European Super Cup, becoming the only Scottish club to ever claim that specific title. The world Aberdeen inhabited is gone. The Cup Winners' Cup was abolished in 1999, and the modern Champions League is now dominated by a small group of clubs with multi-billion-dollar valuations. For the fans who lived through this era, these matches became a permanent part of the national identity. They represent a time when the gap between the province and the palace could still be bridged by effort and organization. While the modern game makes a repeat performance unlikely, the statistics remain. For 16 years, clubs from this one small nation were a constant, trophy-winning presence at the very highest level of European football.